Elon Musk is trying to buy Twitter with the stated goal of restoring free speech to the platform. I think he wildly understates the extent of the problem that is speech moderation. If he does go through with it, it will have a tremendous impact on online culture and politics. So let's take a closer look. Twitter is one of the most unique platforms online. I, a completely random person on the other side of the world, has the ability to reach the President of the United States of America with my texts and almost ensure that at least a staffer will see it. This kind of unprecedented access to the actual elites of the world is extremely powerful and important. With a market cap of just $34.42 billion US, its value is quite uniquely uncaptured by the market for the kind of potential it has. So, what's up with Elon Musk, the richest man in the world? He wants control over it with the stated goal of improving the product, solving what he thinks is the problem of free speech on the platform, and taking the platform private. He signed an agreement to buy Twitter at $54.20 US per share in cash to buy it. This is after he bought a 9.1% stake in the company and then rejected the offer to be a board member. So what's next? Twitter's shareholders will vote on a deal after going through the SEC. Then there's the antitrust approval and the likes. Oh, also when the deal does close, Elon Musk will need to have $46 billion US in cash. Now there's lots that could go wrong, but let's assume he ends up buying. And take him on his word that he wants to unlock its potential to be the platform for free speech around the globe. What might that look like? We need to start from the beginning. It was the 90s, the internet was the next avenue of growth, the place where human potential was truly unlocked due to the unprecedented access to the collective human knowledge, and more importantly, access to each other.
Interactive appetite, searching for a website, a window to the world, got to get online.
Take a spin, now you're in with the techno set, you're going surfing on the internet.
This was a communications technology revolution like never before in human history. Along with it came the vision of freedom of speech and expression. But with it becoming mainstream, the people's eyes turned towards all that was happening in this new digital space. Boundaries of what was acceptable in traditional media were being broken. Think back to the days of Mortal Kombat Senate hearings.
First, we have Mortal Kombat, which is a martial arts contest involving digitized characters. We're going to show two versions of the game. In the first segment, which is Sega's version, blood splatters from the contestants' heads. When a player wins, the so-called death sequence begins. The game narrator instructs the player to finish, and I quote, finish his opponent.
That was the start of how restrictions of speech began, or at least the attempts towards it. The internet and everyone on it fought back against it. Free speech absolutism is never a real concept because everyone draws the line somewhere, but the fight online by people was for greater freedom in form and content. Where are we today? The internet is not an external domain where actors seek to restrict expression which would otherwise be restricted. Rather, it's the primary source of expression. Culture and politics that affect the material lives of people happen online. Now, I won't equate right-wing censorship and left-wing censorship attempts here. One clearly has the backing of institutions, but online everyone wants their political opponents to be ousted. It may take different forms and for different reasons, genuine and non-genuine, but that instinct exists. And how does their experience differ online with regards to censorship? People on the left see hate, bigotry, misinformation, and disinformation being allowed to exist and being banned for standing up for their own identity, while those on the right see what they perceive to be challenging mainstream narratives being banned, while the left's perceived harm continues to exist. There are definitely things that are factually correct here, but let's keep that aside for just a moment and realize that Twitter does indeed restrict speech. It is making active choices about what kind of content to show and what kinds of people are to be allowed to use their product. And not just that, because of the algorithm, it is actively editorializing what it's showing you. Everything from the trending topics to recommendations about topics and who to follow and all of the things you see on Twitter. Then how do they decide the answer to this incredibly difficult question? What do they want on their platform? What content, what people? The answer is that they want the platform to be as non-toxic and as civil as possible, while it grows and makes them money. It's quite simple really. That's just how businesses work, but it is quite an insightful idea. I'll link a thread from an ex-CEO of Reddit, Yishan Wong, about this, but here's the idea. They want everyone to be civil on their platform, but it is impossible to do that when anyone can say anything anonymously, without consequences. Furthermore, a lot of people are on the platform. What do the platforms do then? They put on what is an appearance of fairness. You've seen this before. People pointing out the inconsistent applications of rules. They'll ban people for innocuous tweets and allow high-profile accounts spreading hate. There's also differences between countries. So like in a market like India with such big user numbers, they can't really piss off the government so much so that they ban the app as they've done with other giants like TikTok, though for different stated reasons. So the standards for banning people in India different from the standards in the United States. The appearance of fairness is quite critical for the platform, because if it weren't, there would be constant protests against the censorship and it would be magnitudes louder. And the platform would just be unusable. Hence, they create a set of principles that they say they'll follow, and most cases of moderation are sort of dealt with according to the rules. Is this ideal? Of course not. But just because of how infinite human behavior is, this sort of hovering around a set of guiding principles is what they do. And these kinds of weird, seemingly uneven relationship with country speech laws and with big personalities, it's not so much an exception to the rule, but rather an occasional event which forces the platform to take a big public stand and derive from the ether a rule which allows them to solve the issue. Think about Donald Trump's ban. Why was that such an occasional event rather than a big change of rules or principles? It didn't lead to a slippery slope of tech censorship across the website, as many people feared, both on the left and the right. So, how do we square such events with the general set of rules? Focus on user behavior rather than political affiliation, but understand that user behavior is a proxy for platform growth. If everyone is civil, chilling as they do on Instagram, for instance, growth is easy. On Twitter, that's not what conversation looks like. People are name-calling, harassing, inciting, mobbing, and all of that is often included under free speech or just debating ideas. Calling all of such behavior debate is really understating what it entails. During the initial phase of COVID, platforms all around were suppressing disinformation. One of the things being suppressed was the lab leak theory. Why? Because people were coalescing around it and actively harassing public health officials in an unprecedented crisis. Now you can understand this morally, but just business growth is enough of an explainer, I think. You don't want your US-based platform to be used to harass US health officials. I have always been critical of the suppression of this particular topic because there were genuine scientific reasons to be skeptical and have a reasoned debate. But that's not what was happening back then. This is what explains the suppression of any ideas or links you might have in mind. People creating mobs around it and behaving badly. Now, you might think that it should be within your right to form such groups online and act in such manner. And there have been or will be circumstances where it's justified, and maybe so, but that only goes to show on the extent of difficulty that comes with moderation, which you can now tell is obviously required. Elon Musk's idea that he'll allow everything that's legal is quite naive. Not to go into even what country's law to follow, just within the US. There's so much that's legal that the platform would become an unbelievably toxic place that causes advertisers and users both to drop out. There's the obvious point about how the most marginalized will be disproportionately affected, but it'll be a bad space for everyone. I definitely won't be paying a monthly subscription fee to use an 8chan equivalent of Twitter. So where does that bring us? Twitter's been fairly good. Is it the best thing for your mind? No, not really. I mean, far from it really. But as far as the status quo goes, for social media platform, they've done a reasonably good job. Not that the bar is very high. There are still some big problems, like how bot farms shape public discourse and how algorithmically generated trending topics can be easily manipulated this way, giving legitimacy to an entirely astroturfed idea. But other than that. So finally, let's get back to Elon Musk. We now know what social media companies, like any other businesses, care about, which is growth. An effect of that is prioritizing somewhat civil behavior, just enough that people and advertisers stay on the platform. So, what will Elon Musk change? It's tough to say. His tweets about free speech indicate a very rudimentary analysis of what it might entail. Shitposting about how Twitter should piss off both the far left and far right political actors, how current policies are too restrictive. Unlocking Twitter's potential as the town square is what he's trying to do, while also making it a profitable business. It's going to be very tough if he plans to remove bot farms, authenticate people, open source the algorithm, remove the current terms of service, and also rely less on advertising, which are all things he's talked about at some point or the other. He'll end up finding this free speech issue to be quite a more difficult thing to do than he's making it seem. And in my opinion, just based on his personality, I think it's better left to someone else. For a guy whose aim is to solve everything from climate change to making humanity an interplanetary species, there's surely better use of his time. Now, there's a lot to this story. We discussed the challenges of speech moderation, but there's other related issues here. What would it mean for the world's richest man to own the most important social media platform? Does Elon Musk really care about free speech at all? And would this deal even go through? Let me know in the comments what you think about this whole story. Is it going to be good? Will you stay on Twitter? Also, if you're interested in other aspects of the story, let me know and maybe we'll talk soon. Until then, have a good one.